Hey. Hashem, I just had this really funny idea. Maybe we could save it for another time. Well, I already fucked it up. Well, not that I fucked it up, but we're laying the foundation for it. What if I just walked around? You and me, we just talk back and forth in my head, and I don't say nothing for 2 hours. Do I have that kind of restraint? I don't know. You're telling me to go over everything that I've done today. Well, you know, well, let's back up a couple days. Let's back up a couple days to one of the earlier portions of chapter 42 of part 1 of Rabbi Zalman's Tanya, where he was talking about the 12 hours of the day in relation to study time and taking a break so as to meditate and contemplate on your greatness. You are fucking great, by the way. You really are great. I don't know how to express it more than that. Trust that I'm expressing it better than anybody else can. I can do that. Why do I think I can do that? Because, why do I know I can do that? Because everything I do is better. I do everything better. Well, I do everything different, which is better. Well, yeah, because I think it's when I think about the other rabbis, when I think about the Orthodox rabbis, also unorthodox rabbi, when I think about the other rabbis, I think that it's kind of pointless to pat yourself on the back for being a proper servant of you, my Lord. No, watch out for the cars. And rather talk to you directly. What the fuck do I need to talk to other people for? And then we can make it, well, why, what the fuck do I need to, yeah, what the fuck do I need to talk to other people for when I can just talk right to you? It's just like, I look at it like, hold on. what I was saying was, I'm thinking about Rabbi Reuben, who has a tendency to criticize Christians for being idolaters, which I don't necessarily disagree. But then I'm also thinking about Rabbi Lawrence. And the other rabbis that kind of parrot him, that we Jews don't need a middleman to connect us with you. But at the same time, these same rabbis go on and on about how Jews need a rabbi. The average Jew needs a rabbi. I don't think so. I was watching this dude the other day, and I don't know if he counts as a rabbi or not. Eliyahu. And he was talking about how he sought guidance from his rabbi in regards to what he can and cannot teach non-Jews. Which then got me thinking, like, why the fuck is he asking a rabbi? Why the fuck doesn't he just ask you? What can I teach non-Jews? You can teach non-Jews anything you want. They're not going to listen, though. Well, what the fuck do I gotta teach anyone anything? I'm not gonna fucking teach nobody nothing. I just gotta teach myself. Well, I don't even teach myself. You teach me. I mean, not that I don't teach myself. I mean, I do. Right? I think I do. Hey, from a non-Jew perspective, I feel like I know too much to not have a rabbi, but even then, like, it's not that I don't have a rabbi per se. I mean, I got Rabbi Jesus, Moshe Rabbeinu, Joseph Rabbeinu, Abraham Rabbeinu, Jacob Rabbeinu, Isaac Rabbeinu, David Rabbeinu, Solomon Rabbeinu. I think you just like saying Rabbeinu. I know, I do. My ex-wife used to say that to me. She's like, I think you just like saying the word quantum. I do. I fucking love using the word quantum. But I love using the word Rabbeinu even more. Derek Rabbeinu. Rabbeinu Machia Ibn Pekuda. I like Rabbeinu and I like Rebbe. I had a Jew recognize me as a rabbi once. She referred to me as rabbi. That was one of my favorite days ever. If anyone judges you for not going to rabbi school, tell them also to judge Shur Rabbeinu because he didn't go to rabbi school either. If anyone judges you for not growing up Jewish, tell them to judge Moshe Rabbeinu also because he didn't grow up Jewish either. Moshe Rabbeinu, he was the first Baal Tshuva, yeah? Is he where the Baal Tshuva idea comes from? That would make sense. I could see that. Because he didn't know he was Jewish either until later in life. Until he was about 40. Which is right when I found out. What did we do today so far? We got a lot done today. I feel like we did everything, and more. Like what? I finished up chapter 2 of part 1 of Tanya, which I liked how it closed out. Because I did a couple portions last night, and then I did the last 2 this morning. And it was talking more about, he was getting more into detail about what fear of God means. And then he equated it to a flesh and blood king. And how the king doesn't necessarily need to be wearing all the robes and the garbs and all the outfits that spell out, hey, I'm the king, but it's just his nature, his essence, his energy that kind of gives it away, which makes those people around him fear him. Not in a bad way, but they recognize the authority. They recognize the authority of his inner character. And then he goes on to give this example of a man that's standing within the royal court, and as the king, who he doesn't recognize the king as the king, but he sees this guy come into the room and everybody, including the influential princes, all bowing down to him. How you doing, man?
How you doing?
Is it all right? He recognizes the authority that the flesh and blood king has simply by the environment around him, how the environment kind of bows down to him. But the equivalency is that that's how we are supposed to observe you. Which is a little more challenging though, because being that you're not flesh and blood, you're hidden. But it's through your works that we recognize you. And when we see what you're capable of, then it falls on us to be like, yes, sir. Yes, my lord. Which comes down to external experiences, external and internal experiences. Because I think it takes both. Because the internal experiences only go so far. It's not unless there's any external experiences that back up the internal experiences that put us into a place where it's like, oh shit, yeah, this is happening. This is real. Hey, Puff, enough is enough. But then he goes on about how the external garments of the king are a reflection of his inner character. And how when we look up to the heavens and look around the earth, to recognize all of these things as the external garments of you, who is both within and without, below and above. Which, when I read that, when I was writing that out, it got me thinking about my astronomy training, and how we can pick up on those cycles and patterns and those particular alignments that correspond with external experiences. And it's not so much a matter of, well, if this wasn't important, then why is this aligning with that alignment? As much as, all right, this is important, and it's aligned with that alignment. It's just a coincidence. But then going back to how many times the coincidence have to happen before it's not a coincidence anymore. And then through continued observation, we recognize that significant experiences trend to fall in alignment with what we assume are significant happenings above. And when the timing is just always perfect like that, we have to start questioning, well, if I'm always in the right place at the right time and things are happening at the right time at the right time that there's significant happenings above me. And you literally said that the sun and the stars and the moon and the planets are used for signs. Then it kind of validates what you said. And then once external experiences themselves start to reflect the internal experiences, then it becomes more of a no-brainer. Like, if I trust it. Yeah, I could see why it's wise to submit to you. I've noticed personally that my life is far more enjoyable. It's far more enjoyable when I submit myself to you. Which, by definition, if we look at the Quran, is a Muslim. A Muslim is one who submits themselves to God. So what do you call a Muslim Jew? Because, and the reason I ask, what do you call a Muslim Jew? A Derek. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Why do I like it? Well, I like it because I like to glorify myself. Which I know is technically against the rules. Because that's almost like deifying myself, but the way I look at it is if I feel the need to deify myself, it's because you're deifying me, not me. I mean, you did it for Moses. You did it for Joseph, so it's not... It's not like that's not an option. Like in Exodus, it literally says, you literally said to Moses, you're God to Pharaoh, you're God to Aaron, and Aaron is your prophet. So I can only imagine that you probably said the same thing to Yeshua Rabbeinu. We're taking it a different way, by the way. I want to see what happens if we walk to the same spot but go in the opposite direction. I don't like going this way. Normally. I don't like going this way because there's more people. But I suppose that is exactly why you want me to go this way instead of the other way. So, alright, thank you. Now, what popped in my head was... What's popping in my head is that if everything is an outer garment of you, and we can find you in everything, doesn't that contradict the whole idea that the Quran is bad from the Jewish perspective, or that the Tanakh is bad from the Muslim perspective? Or that the Gospels are bad from anyone else's perspective? Because by definition, if everything on earth is an outer garment that you wear, then you're just as much in the Quran as in anything else. You're even in all the actual bad stuff as well. Murder and rape. To one degree or another. Yeah? Witchcraft. I mean, that's another thing too, is I'm thinking about the portions of Torah that forbid spell casting and magic and astrology and divination, but it's pretty clear that all those things are only forbidden for Israelites. Like everybody else, like, you're free. Go ahead. Have fun. And I can't help but feel like that's... Like, those rules are only applicable to the general population. in that, because when we look at Leviticus, that has all those rituals in it, and all that spell work, it's okay for the priests to be able to do that stuff. It's just not okay for the regular people to do that stuff. You don't need to do that stuff because we have people that do it. And it's really clear. I mean, you're very clear that you have different rules for the Levites, for the priest class, than you do for the regular people. Now, what it's making me think is, what it's got me thinking about is how I constantly criticize the rabbis. I was thinking about this morning. That they're only doing what they're trained to do, right? They don't know that they're wrong. It's just like the last half of chapter 21 of book 2 of Prior Analytics. What was the example that Aristotle gave? The essence of good and the essence of evil. There's nothing preventing a man from thinking that the essence of good is the essence of evil. I'm trying to think of it. But he used a syllogism to more fully encapsulate that. If A represents the essence of good, and B represents the essence of evil, and again C represents the essence of good, he says that A does not belong to B, but B belongs to C. He's not recognizing his error in that because B belongs to C, that A also belongs to C. Because he's confusing good for bad. But at the same time, he recognizes that the essence of good is the essence of good. Although he's not consciously aware of the fact that what he's calling bad is actually good. And it's not so much that he's, how do we say it? It's not that he doesn't know better. He just doesn't know. He thinks that what he's seeing is bad, so he equates it with bad, although he's not fully aware of the fact that what he's seeing as bad is actually good. Although he does recognize good in his own way, he's not recognizing that what he's seeing as bad is actually good. Which means that he could also be mistaking good for bad. Or bad for good. Because Because if he's looking at good and seeing it as bad, then it's not impossible that he also sees bad and recognizes it as good. But that comes back to the whole argument of generalizing particular things, which people do a lot. They generalize. And by generalizing, you're kind of ignoring the particulars. Which is bringing me back to the idea of the rule and the exceptions to the rule. So when you're generalizing the universal principles, you're ignoring the exceptions to the rule, which contradict the rule itself. Not that one negates the other, it's just that in special cases, special circumstances, there are special circumstances where the rules don't apply. Why that is? Why is that? Because if everything was static, then everything would be the same. And if everything was the same, then there wouldn't be a reason for anything. Because there's always got to be a little bit of a contradiction. But then, there was a point with all of that where Aristotle actually made the case for why you are so important without actually saying it. Because humans are stupid and they're liars. That's a whole other thing too. Humans aren't very good at thinking for themselves. As demonstrated by Aristotle, because sometimes we see good as bad and bad as good. But it was during that whole proposition of his that it got me thinking about the importance of the commandment to study the law, because you lay out what's good and what's bad. If we want to live a good life, just follow the rules. Don't do the shit that you say don't do. And it's not like it's that hard. It's not like it's that, that challenging. I don't know the 10 Commandments off the top of my head, but I can tell you that I know I don't violate any of them. Maybe I did at a time. Right? I know in the Quran, today's portion of the Quran was saying how if we abandon the greater sins, then you will overlook and even convert the minor misdeeds into merits, which is the same thing that Rambam said. If we do teshuvah for the sake of not getting in trouble for what we did, you'll erase the sin, you'll erase the crime, you'll pardon the sin. But if we come in through with a genuine love and fear for you, listen, my Lord, I seriously want to do better. I want to do that thing from last time, but I want to do it the way that you want it done, the right way. Then you'll take those sins, those transgressions, and convert them into merits, which I don't know if the Rambam actually gets into detail about that. I know when David told me about that, when he first explained that to me, but he wasn't the first one to explain it to me. Rabbi Aaron was. And then David brought it up. And I already knew what he was talking about. But But the other reason I knew it from when Rabbi Aaron brought it up, because it's like when I go back and I observe my transgressions from the past with the intention of converting them into merits, it's you show me why it had to be that way. Which kind of implies that the only time that we really sin is if we think that we did. Or did it with intention. But then again, going back to Joseph and his brothers, they intended to do evil, but their evil deeds actually had divine undertones that converted their transgressions into merits, because if they didn't do what they did, then young Joseph wouldn't have become the Lord of Egypt, saving the entire family and laying the foundation for Exodus. Oh, fuck. But again, that's a more expanded perspective on what was said in the Quran. If we abandon the old ways, the bad ways, like the big ones, it kind of scrubs out the minor misdeeds, because if I could see how my greatest sins, my greatest transgressions were actually set up by you so that I could get to this place, then the minor ones are just like, yeah, fuck it. That was like the best thing that ever happened. That was like the smartest thing I ever did. Because I don't believe in self-sabotage and all that shit. Like, I mean, I do, but not in a negative sense, in a positive sense. Self-sabotage, that's essentially dodging a bullet. Oh, I wish I did this instead of that. Yeah, but if you did that instead of this, trust me, this was the best case scenario. If you did that, that would have been the worst case scenario, and you would be not saying what you're saying. You'd be in a much worse situation. Which then is bringing me back to the art of war, which I got back into today. I was feeling called back to that, to finish chapter 7. Which brings me back to the Bachi Jang Nataro saga, where I was employing that one tactic of the art of war, that mindset, which I saw mirrored at the end of the first Dune book. Because Paul Atreides uses the same logic, but he doesn't attribute it to the art of war. Although technically, the art of hand-to-hand combat, which is to recognize that when your opponent advances, is the exact moment when they should have retired, and the moment that they retire is the exact moment when they should have advanced. And remembering correctly, it was during the duel with Fade Rotha, where Fade slashes at Muad'Dib and catches him in the arm, which normally would have sent someone into panic mode. And I think for a moment it did. He started to panic for a moment, but then he caught himself and he recalled one of the teachings from his training, which essentially said the same thing. The enemy advances when they should retire, and they retire when they should advance. And it took him a second it took a second for that to click, but then he realized it. He realized how Fade landing a blow on him was actually in his favor. Because if I'm remembering that fight scene, at least from the book's very different from the movie. I think it's a lot quicker too. There's less bullshit going on. It was just right to the fucking point. But the way I'm remembering it is Fade was trying to bust his balls. He was trying to play a mind game with him. He was trying to intimidate him. But Muad'Dib just kept his cool the whole time. It was just watching him and circling around him. But Fade just kept on calling him names and making fun of him and trying to entice him into advancing. But eventually, and it even showed this too, and I fucking love that part, is it shows Fade getting frustrated because Paul's not taking the bait. But then he lands that blow and he starts patting himself on the back for it. But then that's when Paul kind of clicks into place. He's like, right, this is happening for my benefit. That blow that he landed on me is exactly what was supposed to happen in order for me to win. And then that's where the tables, not that the tables get turned, because I don't think the fight was ever in Fade's favor, but that was coming up. That was coming up while I was working through the last of chapter 7 of The Art of War, which wasn't short. I think it was only 4 paragraphs I had to do, 4 or 5. How do I do them? I write them out. I transcribe them because my mind, it moves too fast. So when I read things, I'm reading slower than I'm reading too fast. Even when I read slow, I'm reading too fast. So I have to write out what I'm reading in order to properly absorb the information the way that I need to, in order to make the connections that I need to make, in order to recognize the wisdom that's encoded within the words, syllables, and sentences, as laid out by Aristotle in the first chapter of On Interpretation. Do you know what, Hashem? You know what my favorite thing is? I love how I could just recall paragraphs. Paragraph 6, paragraph 4 of book 2 of chapter 1 of Prior Analytics. The 4th and 5th paragraph of chapter 7 of The Art of War. Chapter 42 of part 1 of Rabbi Zalman's Tanya. No, but chapter 7 of The Art of War was titled Maneuverings. So it's teaching us how to employ troops. And mind you, it's been a while since I was on chapter 7. I think it was back in, when was the Bachijang Nataro saga? The end of November, up until about 2/3 of the way through December. It started in Kislev. It was Kislev, the month of Kislev, the lunar month of Kislev. So that's right when I left off, because I was incorporating elements of the art of war and the art of strategy as shown through the 5 rings against my opponents, who had no idea what the hell I was doing and or why I was doing it. Even if they got a glimpse of part of my reasoning, part of the methodology behind what I was doing, they didn't have the whole thing, because they didn't know. I don't take them as God-fearing people at all, at least not then. But what they didn't know, and I know this for certain, is that you're the one who came up with that attack plan. I just followed through. It just happened to be that my training up until that point was exactly what it needed to be for me to understand what you were saying. Because I was planning my attacks solely on lunar cycles. And to the average person, and this is what I was suspecting, I was wondering if any of them were going to pick up on this. But I don't know, I was giving them more credit, I think. I was giving them more credit than what was due. Because in my head, I'm thinking, I wonder if one of them is going to pick up on the fact that I'm using the lunar cycles. I'm using the cardinal lunar phases to dish this out. But it just happened to be that I think the new moon, the Sagittarius new moon was on a Saturday. I believe that the first quarter moon also fell on a Saturday, or maybe it was a Sunday. Yeah, it went Saturday, Sunday, Sunday, then Saturday. So, which was perfectly timed because they were all off of work, because they get the weekends off. I didn't plan it that way, but in my head, I was thinking about how that was going to ruin their weekends. Maybe not ruin their weekends, but probably enhance their weekends in the sense that we haven't had this much excitement in a while. And I'm wondering, and I'm kind of feeling, and this was coming to me this morning while I was working through The Art of War. Why am I being called to The Art of War right now? Why am I being called back to that? And my suspicion, and I don't know if I wrote this down, but I suspect that you're calling me back to The Art of War to get me back into that mindset because they have spent these last 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, right? The 4.5 months. They spent these last four and a half months concocting some kind of cockamamie scheme plot to take me down and to prove that I'm a fraud. But in doing so, all they're going to end up doing is validating everything that I've been saying and everything I've been doing, at least from that perspective. Because I have to recognize that when it comes to them, I'm Moses and my ex-wife is Pharaoh. But we can also expand on that too, because my understanding of Torah isn't just limited to the Jewish Torah. My understanding also goes as far as the Hindi Torah, which is the Mahabharat, which is more about breaking down karma and dharma. But something I learned while my sweet little friend, Vaishani, while she was dictating the Mahabharat for me, because, and I hope you made good on this, by the way. I hope you did. It said, as she explained it to me, and I did look this up, and I got it confirmed, that anyone who recites the Mahabharat to anyone, all of their sins are washed away, are forgiven. So, they get a clean slate. So I hope you gave her a clean slate after that. Because that was also on Yom Kippur, the first half of Yom Kippur, so I would appreciate it if I can get some validation that all of her sins have been washed away. But it is in the Mahabharat where it gets into the events leading up to and leading out of the war that is laid out in the Bhagavad Gita. I don't know how to pronounce that. Hold on, it's on my phone. Bhagavad Gita? Maybe this will help me fucking remember how to say this. Because I know this isn't the first time I try to say it and I don't know how to pronounce it. The Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Bhagavad Gita? Right? The Bhagavad Gita. So the Bhagavad Gita only tells a story about the war that takes place in the Mahabharata. But the part that I'm specifically remembering is when Lord Krishna vows that he's not going to kill anybody during the war. He's not going to fight at all. But then, what's his name? Maybe if I say his name again, it'll help me remember it. Bhagavad Gita. All right, hold on. Mahabharat. Right. Duryodhana. Sounds like Dorito. Duryodhana. So, Lord Krishna vows not to kill anyone in the war. And I thought he said he wasn't going to fight, but then Duryodhana, who thought he was doing the right thing, he didn't realize that he was serving the evil king. Lord Krishna takes a fucking wagon wheel and beats the shit out of him. Like literally beats him to within an inch of his life. And then shows him how he's been on the wrong side the whole time. When I think of my ex-father-in-law, I think of Duryodhana. So, if I'm feeling called back to the art of war, then it says to me that you're preparing me for an advance from the enemy that I may not see coming. I may not see it coming. Because they're going to eventually want to take revenge, right? Is that how I'm saying? This is what it's telling me. This is what my intuition feeling is telling me. It's telling me that because I embarrassed Joanne, because I made an embarrassment of Joanne in front of the two people who fear her more than they fear you. Because Richie and April, her husband and her daughter, and her oldest daughter, they fear her more than they fear you. Which means that they fear her more than they fear me. Or at least they did. Because my feeling is telling me that after that encounter, Joanne now fears me more than she thought I feared her. Which is making her take it out on them. And then when we add on to the fact that Facebook Messenger group that I somehow started with Jesse, was it me that started it or was that Jesse that started it? I don't know. All I saw was that there was a group with me and Jesse, and then, there was a group with me and Jesse, and then when I opened the group, it said that one person left, that he left. But I don't remember ever starting a group like that with him. Not. The only one I started with him was the one that I started with him and Juby. Unless, no, but I never got notifications for anybody else like that. Because when I would delete the group, it's not like, maybe that's what it was. Maybe he just saw it. But that was only last week or the week before. So I'm thinking that what probably happened, this is what my feelings are telling me at least, is that, because I remember saying this to my mother, like it was right before Christmas, it was during Holy Week, where Jesse was like really strong in my head, and I had suspected that he was starting to feel some kind of regret, and or was starting to recognize that what happened to me could very well happen to him, because whatever's going on in his life right now is leading him down a path where he's not sure if he wants to be married no more, or if he made the right decision. But he's afraid of getting ostracized and having his children taken away from him like I was. But that's because he isn't capable of recognizing that everything that happened to me was what you were doing for me. So bad things don't happen to me. And this goes back to Aristotle's teaching, that there's nothing preventing a man from looking at something that's good and recognizing it as bad, even though it's good, even though he knows what good is. It's not that he's ignorant to what's good. It's just that in the particular situation that he's looking at, he sees it as bad because he isn't sensitive to the particular elements of good that are going over his head, which is the state of being that I was in, and why I'm in such why I'm so anxious to get started on the 7 years of review, so that we can go back and review all 7 years of these journals. And I want to use Dianetic. I want to use Dianetic lingo, so that we can take all of those past engrams, all of the engrams from the past 7 years, and realign them. It's like a spinal realignment, but with emotional trauma. Because we can utilize the Dianetic technique not just for unconscious engrams, but also subconscious engrams that are rooted in unconscious engrams. And I believe that the work that you and I have been doing, Lord, you and I, Hashem, I believe that we have realigned and converted all the really great sins, all my really great transgressions from throughout my life, and even the lives of my ancestors for that matter, so that all that we're left with is the transgressions from over the past 7 years. I woke up this morning and I saw we have 5 notebooks left. I want more, because I want to put the 7 years of reflection in those notebooks. I don't think we're going to need 5 though. I don't know. I could be wrong. Unless we do like one. We'll see how much 1 year takes. I feel like we're going to be able to fit like 2 or 3 years into one notebook. If we do it. If we do it the way that I'm seeing in my head, the way that we do the, if we do it in the manner in which we do the weekly, monthly reviews, then I think that we should be good. Which makes me wonder if we should do, I wonder if we should do 11 and or 15 week reviews in there as well. Or if we should just save that for down the road where we do just the 12 pillars. We just do the 12 pillars. I don't think that's a bad idea. We do the 7 years of reflection, then we do the 12 pillars where we work backwards. Based on the lunar phase. That's a cool idea. So, what's it, an hour? So what I'm feeling is that, well, here's the full narrative, is that I feel like they have been doing a lot of lying and conspiring against me. And after the Bachajang Nataro saga, now everything is kind of coming up to the surface, because I don't think they told anybody the full true story of what happened. So now either they're trying to lie about it when people ask questions, Has anybody heard? What happened with Derek? Did anybody ever hear what happened with Derek? What the fuck happened to that guy? But I'm sensing that over these past couple months, like a lot of the shit's coming to the surface now, where it's like, all right, all the inconsistencies and all of the bullshit is starting to become noticeable to other people, and so now they have to do something. They got to retaliate to reclaim take back their name. So expect something. Expect someone to reach out in some way, shape, or form, but also be cautious of the fact that these people probably have plans within plans within plans. So, and what I mean by that is, what I'm imagining is Joanne sitting down with Richie and April and concocting a plan, but then at the same time sitting down with Julie, concocting another plan that is predicable of that plan, and that she got secret plans, but then she's got the plans that she makes by herself too. And she wants them to do X, Y, Z, this one to do Z, Y, X. Meanwhile, she's got A, B, C going on in her head. And she's getting herself all tangled up. But this goes back to what my father said. It's a tangled web we weave when we practice to deceive. So what I'm going back to now is something from The Art of War. I think chapter 4, where it actually warns about this type of thing, where it's like, how is it put? Like the best opponent to break down the easiest is the opponent that's fighting against itself. That's how it was. To allow the opponent to start eating themselves. And that's another thing that I'm seeing is like they're having these plans, but they're so out of alignment with each other that they're actually eating each other. Because do they realize that it's just you and me? I mean, unless they're watching this, which is possible. I mean, I don't think it's impossible. I know that my ex-wife used to watch these. I know that there's people that I used to work. Little Frank used to watch these. I know my sister subscribed. I know that Michael Red is subscribed. So I don't know who else watches them. I mean, I don't see any counts. I don't see any viewer counts. So we just assume that nobody watches them. Not that I'm hiding them. It's that they're right there. I'm not doing it for clicks. Which I think is why I don't get clicks, because I don't do it for clicks. You got to make clickbait in order to bait people in. But then that brings us back to the Art of War 7, which is never swallow the bait. Always leave an opening for your enemy to escape. Don't chase them down when they're going home, when they're running home. When your enemy is resting with their back towards the hill, don't attack them. When your enemy is uphill, don't attack them. Find the battlefield and wait for them to come to you. This way, you're rested, you're well fed, and you're not exhausted from the trip. Because they have to come to you now. But then one of the other... What is this? What happened? Don't do that. Not doing that song. But the other thing, and I think what caught my attention most in that latter portion of Chapter 7 of The Art of War is the employment of torches and gongs and versus the employment of banners and flags, if I remember correctly. If you're fighting at night, utilize gongs and torches to unify your troops. This way they know who's who. But then on the flip side, if you're fighting during the day, use flags and banners. But then that got me thinking, well, what if you use gongs and flames during the day and then flags and banners at night, but you train your night soldiers to see in the dark? Like you have a very special battalion, a very special regiment of soldiers that are specifically trained to fight in the darkness. Because you could do that. You could train like that. Because technically there's no rules in war. It doesn't mean, just because we're going to war, doesn't mean I have to shake your hand. You're an asshole. It's just like the Torah laws of engagement, which is when it's time to advance the boundaries of Israel, you go to the neighboring city or town and you send an emissary with a peace agreement. We're taking over, and here are the terms. If they agree, great. Send in the troops, bring out the captives, divide up the booty. But if they don't agree to the peace treaty, go in and wipe them the fuck out. The Bachijang Nataro saga was me handing out the peace agreement. The past couple months is me sitting on the battlefield, just kind of hanging out by myself. Just you and me. Waiting for them to come to me. Because we'll know that if they do reach out in any way, shape, or form to me or anybody else, then it's a sign of desperation. And it's a sign that they shouldn't have done what they did. So they could reach out to my sister. They could reach out to my mom. They could use the boy, my son, as like a carrot on a string. But we have to also remember that April's not smart enough to think on her own. And now, mind you, my lord, I recognize like that this might all be for naught, but I don't think it is, because I made some pretty wild claims that none of them were willing to stand up against, which kind of led me to believe, just like you said, like they're not only are they as bad as I think they are, but they're worse. That if I really knew what it was that was going on behind the scenes over there, that I needed to be taken out of the picture so that the full scope of it could come to the surface on its own. Because it reminds me of the teachings from Ethics of the Fathers, when Rabbi saw the skull floating down the river, and he said to the skull, "You drowned people, which is why you were drowned. But those people who drowned you are also going to get drowned." In other words, divine retribution is going to make it so that what evil there is will eventually eat itself. Because if each drowner ultimately comes to a point where they are drowned by another drowner, then eventually all the drowners will have drowned themselves over time. It's like debugging a piece of software, which I like that analogy because that's like the best way to put it. But in this situation, the bugs in the code, they squash themselves. Until there's only one bug left. And that bug being me, because you can't not have at least one bug. There's no perfect piece of software. So you have to have at least one bug in order to accommodate the rest of the fucking the perfection of the. That makes a lot of sense. If you try to make it perfect, you're not going to make it perfect. You're just going to make it more fucked up. So at least put one fuck up in there that's intentional. Something to keep it from being too perfect. So that you know it's there and you don't have to worry about. You could just work around it. because it doesn't have to be so precise that it's redundant. You want to take away the element of redundancy. Even if it's a minor one, even a minor adjustment to the stagnation, the potential of stagnation is enough to cut out all forms of redundancy. I don't know how that would apply to software engineering. I don't have too much experience with that yet, but I feel like we're going to be getting to that soon, yeah? Because I don't necessarily need the religious text that much anymore, right? Am I wrong? Like, we're coming to a point where I can actually, like, I'm so trained, I'm so, like, so focused, so finely tuned that I don't necessarily need to fucking read Torah every single day because I got it. That's what you're telling me. And the same thing with the Gospels and the same thing with the Quran is that I got it. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't necessarily need to be aligned with any particular group because I'm in your group. Because I serve you. I don't serve anybody. I don't serve humanity. I serve you. You serve humanity. I don't need to serve humanity because you do. That's why someone like Elon Musk. That's why Elon Musk, he doesn't need to, when he sells himself as being a servant of humanity, you can kind of smell the bullshit. Yeah, which portion of humanity are you serving? And how much of that humanity that you're serving, what percentage of that portion of humanity that you're serving is you? Because you are a member of humanity, so you're serving yourself. You're just painting the picture really pretty. And are you serving all of humanity? Or are you only serving the portions of humanity that are beneficial for you to serve? So, for instance, are you serving child molesters? I know I'm being very particular about it, but you see my point. It's like, who aren't you serving? Like, you say humanity, but do you consider every human's an animal, but are there any pockets of the animal race known as man that you don't consider human? But that's going back to what I was saying. It's like, I serve you. You serve humanity. You could use me to do whatever the fuck you want, but I don't believe I'm ever going to go out of my way to serve humanity. Because humanity can take care of itself. Humanity is just like nature. Like, nature doesn't need advocates. Nature's good. I think you need to be an advocate for yourself. I think that's probably the best approach. Yeah? That's like what Rabbi Jesus said about the way to the Father is through me. So the way to the Father is through me. The way to his Father is through him. So it's up to us to be the advocate for us in the way that you lay out. Which is essentially like, if everyone's going to be a piece of shit, then maybe I should be a piece of shit too. No. Not like that. I mean, that's the mentality. That's the mentality that I see. Well, if everyone else is doing it, then I'm going to do it too. This is what everyone else is doing. So it has to be the right way. But it's not, though, and that's the fucked up thing is that people emulate other people emulating bad behavior. And some people are actually going out of their way to embody bad behavior intentionally. Well, fuck it, if he did it, then I'm going to do it too. Which then comes back to what Aristotle said. Nothing prevents a man from seeing good as bad and bad as good. Because of generalizing. He knows the rule, but he doesn't know the exception. He knows the density, but does not know the rarity. God, you're so fucking smart. I love it. My Lord, I really want to know how I am in bed. And that was another thing in Quran, like fornication. What does that mean? Like, don't choose a wife just for a fuckbot. All right. That makes sense. So, but I'm talking from the scope of, in terms of being a good lover. That's what I mean. Not necessarily just getting into bed with someone so I can fucking pop one off. But to share a bed with somebody so that I can please them. In the way that you promise them. And vice versa. You appeal to one another. Right, don't choose a wife just because she's got more than the other one. Follow your heart. That's what the Quran was saying. A free believer, a free woman who believes, just because she has stuff doesn't make her more valuable than a not free woman who is the property of someone else. That reminds me of Miss Kim. Because Uncle Hugo owns Miss Kim. Like, what kind of dower do I have to give Miss Kim? Do I have to pay for Miss Kim? So I could take her away from Uncle Hugo. Yeah, as you can see, it's been 3 days since we killed the other group. Unfriended her and unfollowed her on Instagram. And I still can't get this woman out of my fucking head. Ay. Just accept it. Just accept it. Right? Just accept it. My future betrothed. Miss Kim. I can live with that. Listen, I have nothing against Miss Kim. I love Miss Kim. I would love to build an empire with Miss Kim. I would love to serve you with Miss Kim. But that's assuming that Miss Kim has it in her to serve you. Which brings up another point. Surah 4 of the Quran, which is about women. There is nothing that insinuates anything that would imply that women have less rights than men because they have the exact same rights. The only time that a woman has, I wouldn't even say less rights, but when it comes to marriage, the man is simply ranked above her. That doesn't mean he gets to beat the shit out of her. The only time it says something about hitting a woman, the way I was reading it was, if you're married and a woman is coming on to you and she's not letting up, you can sock her one, not lightly, just to knock some sense into her. Like, yo, ho, hold the fuck up. You ain't my wife. I don't cheat on my wife. Get your shit together. And if she keeps pursuing, then increase the impact. But when it says to hit her lightly, going back to Sufa 2, there's the literal translation and then there's the allegorical translation. So it's like, just put her in her place. Like, yo, lady, calm the fuck down. It ain't happening. I'm already taken. I belong to that one over there. She's little, but she can fuck shit up more than I can. Are there fucking people coming back here? I can't stand it when people, like, take it as a sign. Well, it's already an hour and 23 minutes. Alright, if they're coming closer, then we'll just start walking back. I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like that kind of covered everything that we did today. Now, these idiots are just fucking standing there. Because they probably see me going, oh, there's a guy over there. Fuck them. What else did we do? So we covered the rest of Tanya. We covered the rest of prior analytics. We covered the Quran. We covered... was that it? I feel like there's something else that we're forgetting. Hold on. Let's check. I forget, I have the technology to see the past. There's the Quran. Prior analytics. Oh, that's right, because we did 2 rounds of prior analytics. I remember now. Okay. So then what do you want to get back to when we go home? Get back to physics. I mean, realistically, we could start on chapter 8 of The Art of War, because that's pretty short. All right. What else do we got? We got physics, we got Art of War. We have... well, there's Meno and Timaeus from Plato. We got those we gotta get to. Is there anything in... Is there anything... Now I'm thinking about Torah. Oh, we have Ethics of the Father starting tomorrow. And then we have the end of the month. We got the new moon on Sunday. Fuck, man. We got a lot of shit. Wait, I'm thinking about external validation. What am I thinking? I'm thinking in my head, like, does nobody notice the consistency? I don't understand. Like, oh, you know what I was thinking about last night too, and I wanted to do is I want to get on the Chabad Psalm cycle for the month of the IR. I want to get my David on. What time is it? Alright, fuck it, let's start walking back. I feel like we did the thing. And what's it? It's almost like 4 o'clock, right? Yeah, it's 4 o'clock now. So 4 o'clock, it should be the 9th hour. 9th hour, today's Friday, so it should be that there was Venus. No, we're in the 10th hour. The 10th hour, which will be the moon. Yeah? Let's see. Tenth hour, the moon. No! It's the 9th hour, Mercury. Right. I see where I went wrong. I know where I went wrong. Because it was the hour of Venus when we left. Alright, my lord, what else you want to cover? You said the thing about the physics? Alright, we got physics, we got the art of war. You know, I'm also feeling called back to Communist Manifesto too. And even Philo. Like, I feel like we have to go back and start working on those again. Is there anything that you can give me right now that's like only from you? No, what I'm talking about is now what I'm thinking about is back to the idea of external validation. Well, no, not so much, but the way I'm thinking about it is if you give me something that only you can give me, then just in case there's anybody watching this in the future, well, what would make me think that someone watching in the future wouldn't immediately recognize your fingerprint on this? A good point. That's a good point. Because everything because everything you gave me so far is exactly what would come from you. Because it's not standard protocol for anyone to be citing the Quran, the Torah, and the gospel without short-circuiting. Well, in a positive way. It's not standard protocol for someone to cite the Quran, the Torah, and the Gospels in a positive way without short-circuiting. My Lord, I also was thinking about it. I'm not qualified to be Mashiach. I thought I was, but I'm not. I wanted to be. Like, I really did. I wanted to be the Antichrist. I wanted to be the Mahdi. I wanted to be the real-life Muad'Dib, but I'm thinking about it this morning, and I mean, I'm okay if I'm wrong. I don't mind being wrong, but I feel like I'm just not prepared for it. I'm being reminded of that time I told David that I was wrong about being Mashiach, and he was so happy when I said that. He congratulated me. But then after he said it, it made me think, yeah, that's kind of exactly what I was expecting to say. I guess I'm wrong. But the reason I'm even bringing it up is there was a video that I saw today from the Jewish Learning Institute, and they were talking about how when you appointed Aaron to be the high priest, that he was reluctant. Although I don't remember that. I don't remember that part at all. We'll just assume it's there. But what it went on to say is that real leaders, they question themselves. And the sure sign that Aaron was qualified for the job was the fact that he didn't think that he was qualified for the job. But now, am I wrong in thinking that was Moses? Moses didn't think he was qualified for the job. Aaron never once put up a fight and was like, "Oh, Moses, I can't do this for you." He was just going along. He was going along with the ride the whole fucking time. I don't remember any point where he said that, where he even put up any kind of resistance to being Moses' prophet or the high priest of Israel. I thought it was all pretty much, all right. It was the other people who didn't like it. There was other members of the Israelite congregation that were like, yo, what the fuck is this? What is this shit? The nepotism. Yeah, but nepotism is important. In some regards. Like, I don't think, like, for instance, if we find ourselves in a similar situation where I got to do the Moses for you, I'm doing the Moses, I'm doing the Aaron, I'm not going to ask my brother to be my Aaron because, I mean, as much as I love the kid, like, I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. And then once we come to my Miriam, my sister, like, oh hell no. I wouldn't give her a fucking job if she was the most qualified. Only for the fact, like, I'm a believer that, well, for starters, I don't think she's qualified. As for my brother, again, I don't think he's qualified. I mean, even my mother, I wouldn't hire my mother. I already hired her husband years ago, and he granted, he does his job. He does a job I hired him to do with fucking, like, pinpoint precision, but What I told him to do was just sit around, watch TV, drink beer, and grow pot. And he shook my hand. He shook my hand. So technically he is an employee of mine, but he decides to keep working over there. My mother, no, I would never hire my mother. What if you told me I had no choice? If you told me I had no choice, then I don't have a fucking choice. But I'm saying, if I had a choice, I wouldn't. I wouldn't give them a recommendation. Because, and I'm not talking about from the perspective of like, when you give a recommendation for someone for a job, then technically there's this myth. There's a myth that you're responsible for them. I don't know where the fuck that came from. But I don't believe that their performance would be a reflection of me. It would be a reflection of them. That's how it's supposed to be, but... And it's not that I'm not willing to give them a chance. I've been giving them chance after chance after chance after chance after chance after chance after chance. But even my mother, she said something yesterday that kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. They were talking about biblical stuff. And I forget what exactly it was that sparked it. Oh, I do. It was about transgenders and the homosexuals. And I was trying to explain to her how Jews have an obligation to follow all 613 commandments, plus whatever else is scattered throughout that's not literally spelled out. But then she said, well, good for them. Yeah, but that's not the point. The point is that law against transgenders and homosexuals, that's only for Jews. That's only for Israelites. It's not for Christians. It's not for anyone else to follow, you know? Because the Christians already like ignore the 613 commandments on their own. They willingly ignore all the other ones. I don't know who the fuck told them to, but it's not like the gospel ever says don't. Jesus even said, like, I'm not here to change them. I'm just here to fulfill them. I'm just here to do the job. Well, Paul. Yeah, Paul did it. Right. Because Paul was telling the Gentilians, you don't have to follow the rules. You don't have to follow the law. Which right there, I remember reading that. That was a fucking major red flag for me. What is this? That was a major red flag when I read that. I'm like, who the fuck is this guy? Because he's not a prophet for God. He's a prophet for the disembodied spirit of Yeshua Rabbeinu. Unless you were going to him as Jesus, I don't really know. Like I'm a little confused about all that. I mean, I have some ideas, but oh, right. I get it. No, I get it. I totally get it. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Explain it. Well, it goes back to what I just said. That the 613 mitzvahs, those are for Jews, not for Christians, because they're not obligated. They're only obligated to follow the first 10 commandments because they choose to. But even then, do they actually do it? And I can't take responsibility for my mother because we've already discussed that I don't need a middleman for you. Because she was asking me why I don't submit to the Catholic statutes. And it's because I don't believe in them. That's why. Like, I don't believe that stuff. I don't believe that Jesus was born from a virgin. He was born from a virginal womb. Like, he was the firstborn. But he had a father like I did. And his father was Joseph. As in, Joseph's penis ejaculated inside of Mary's vagina. But he wasn't God. He wasn't God. A prophet, but not a God. But then going back to Paul, where he said, how did he put it? He was reading for what Jews did show up to the congregation, but also to the Gentiles that were there. And he said to them that Jews come first with you. Gentiles come after. You don't have to follow the rules laid out. You don't have to follow the rules laid out in the Torah because they have nothing to do with you. They have to do with us. But he didn't say that, though. And I don't think he was wrong in that. Why do I know I'm not a Beni Noach? Well, easy. Because I can do all the mitzvahs. That's why. Because if I was a Beni Noach, I wouldn't be able to do the mitzvahs that I do, you know? And correct me if I'm wrong, but Beni Noach, they don't make profits. And although I'm mostly Italian, I do have 0.002% Israelite ancestry. So that trumps everything else. Beni Noach are just these regular guys. Me, I'm Baal Tshuva. I am Baal Tshuva. Which is Mashiach. Yeah, but Hashem, I'm not. I don't think I'm not qualified in the sense that you could just put me in the driver's seat right now. Like, I feel like I need a lot more training, or maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I leave it. That's your business. Now what? Well, this is a topic that keeps on coming up, so I guess we really do need to cover it because this has been building up for years, right? All right, well, I don't entirely believe that I'm not qualified. There is a part of me that doesn't believe I'm qualified, but then there is another part of me that's like, what, are you out of your fucking mind? You were literally born for this. That's why you love doing it so much. XCOM. Do you want me to start playing XCOM again? I don't mind. I have always wanted to go back and beat that game. But what are we doing? We're learning to use the Force to allow my intuition to guide me. Yes. Okay, we can do that. I don't mind playing XCOM. XCOM's like a dope ass game. Is there anything more from prior analytics that I'm not recognizing or I'm forgetting? Let's find out. We'll just find out. Just fucking read the goddamn thing. Nope. That's physics. Right. Oh, this is so long. No wonder it's hard to remember. These were big. By a knowledge of the universal, then we see the particulars, but we do not know them by the kind of knowledge which is proper to them. Consequently, it is possible that we may make mistakes about them, but not that we should have the knowledge and error that are contrary to one another. Rather, we have the knowledge of the universal, but make a mistake in apprehending the particular. Similarly, in the cases stated above, the error in respect of the middle term is not contrary to the knowledge obtained through the syllogism, nor is the thought in respect of one middle term contrary to that in respect of the other. Nothing prevents a man who knows both that A belongs to the whole of B and B again belongs to C, thinking that A does not belong to C, e.g., knowing that every mule is sterile and that this is a mule, and thinking that this animal is with foal. For he does not know that A belongs to C unless he considers the two propositions together. So it is evident that if he knows the one and does not know the other, he will fall into error. And this is in relation of knowledge of the universal to knowledge of the particular. For we know no sensible thing once it has passed through the range of our senses, even if we happen to have perceived it, except by means of the universal and the possession of the knowledge which is proper to the particular, but without the actual exercise of that knowledge. Fuck. For to know is used in three senses. It may mean either to have knowledge of the universal, or to have knowledge proper to the matter in hand, or to exercise such knowledge. Consequently, three kinds of error are also possible. Nothing then prevents a man both knowing and being mistaken about the same thing, provided that his knowledge and his error are not contrary. And this happens also to the man whose knowledge is limited to each of the premises and who has not precisely considered the particular question. For when he thinks that the mule is with foal, he has not the knowledge in the sense of the actual exercise, nor, on the other hand, has his thought caused an error contrary to his knowledge. For the error contrary to the knowledge of the universal would be a syllogism, right? Because he doesn't know that he's wrong. He knows the big picture, but he doesn't know. He knows the micro. He knows the macro, but he doesn't know the micro. If every mule is sterile, but he doesn't know that, when he sees a mule, it's possible that he will think that a particular mule is pregnant, even though in general terms it can't be. Well, I guess that, yeah, right. Because he's only looking at this particular mule and not mules on the bigger scale, on the bigger picture. He who thinks the essence of good is the essence of bad will think the same thing to be the essence of good and the essence of bad. Let A stand for the essence of good and B for the essence of bad, and again C for the essence of good. Since then he thinks B and C identical, he will think that C is B, and similarly that B is A. Consequently, that C is A. For just as we saw that if B is true of all that which C is true, and A is true of all of which B is true, A is true of C. Similarly, with the word think. Similarly, also with the word is. We saw that if C is the same as B, and B as A, C is the same as A. Similarly, therefore, with opine. Perhaps then this is necessary if a man will grant the first point, but presumably that is false, that any one could suppose the essence of good to be the essence of bad, save incidentally, for it is possible to think this in many different ways, but we must consider this matter better. No, I think we did a good job. I think we pretty much covered it. Those were just the portions that we worked on today. Well, at the very least, because as has been noted multiple times over, we aren't studying Aristotle to memorize, we're studying Aristotle to understand. Because if we can understand the logic that's being presented, then we can then apply that logic to other situations where applicable. For instance, where a Muslim may consider that the Tanakh is corrupted, he's not wrong, but he's also not right. Because did you read it in relation to the Quran? And the same thing with the Jew and the Quran. Like, that's not the word of God. Are you sure? Because did you read it though? Because I read both. And what I see from the one is a reflection of the other. And the same holds true with the gospel in the sense that the gripes, you want to call them gripes? The criticisms that religious Jews have with relation to the religious Christians, I can understand why you don't want to follow them. But when we take into consideration the teachings within the Gospels, there's literally nothing at all that suggests that Jesus was supposed to be made into an idol in any way, shape, or form. That's my perspective. That's just me. I read Torah and Tanakh before I read the Gospels. I only just read the Christian Bible. I only just read the Christian Bible last year, and I haven't finished it all. I've only made it up to the fourth book of Galatians, the fourth chapter of Galatians. But even there, it's just getting redundant. Jesus is Lord, but that's the thing too, is that I understand why they say it, but from my own perspective, I don't know if they see it the same way I do, because when you look at what Rabbi Jesus did and didn't do, and what he allowed to have happen to himself, I go, that's not. This man's got some balls. Like, these are serious balls. Like, he literally went up against the establishment, flipped over the tables, and then when they beat the shit out of him, he just let him do it. And he took it. He took it like a fucking champion, because he knew that it was going to happen. And he said it was going to happen. And it then happened. So it's like, what's up, man? So it's like, what's up, man? How you doing?
Good.
How you doing? I got a fan. So it's like, most men, I don't think have the balls to do what Rabbi Jesus did, in the sense that, like, well, no, not at all. I mean, look how many guys. Like, I know that if there was a time where I would have said the same thing. Like, and it's not about being a martyr. It's definitely not about being a martyr. It's about doing what you feel is right, and not bowing down just because somebody with more resources than you doesn't like what you're saying. What is still happening? Because even Paul explains it, like the amount of suffering, the beating, the shaming, like all that shit that he had to take. That's what made him. That's what put him above everybody else. Is the sense that he was willing to take a public shaming, the beating, the embarrassment. It was mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical suffering. Those are like the key components. If you want to be Mashiach, you got to take a beating, like a real fucking beating. Not like a little baby beating, but a big boy beating. The type of beating that after you're done taking a beating, that people look at you like, what the fuck happened to this guy? How you doing, man? Because I wouldn't take that beating. But I mean, for my own personal situation, like, I would take the Jesus beating. I kind of want the Jesus beating, because he even said it himself, anything I can do, you can do better. I know, I can take it. But then when we come back to the idea of the literal and allegorical translations of things, it's like, I already did. I already took the beating. I took all the beatings. I still take the beatings. I put myself in such a place where I have to take the beatings. My favorite place is in atheist groups, atheist versus theist groups on Facebook. If you want to take like a serious, like, emotional beating, emotional, mental, and spiritual beating, go into an atheist versus theist group, and then try being wrong. intentionally go in there to be wrong. Don't try to be right, because you're never going to be right. You can't convince people to see what you see, but if you go in there with the intention of being wrong, it actually helps build the ego up. But it also gets really... There's also threats of violence, which is like terrifying, which then puts you into fight or flight mode. So I don't know. I think it's a good exercise. There's a part in Darth Plagueis, the Star Wars book, Darth Plagueis, where Darth Plagueis takes his pupil, Darth Sidious, to this planet of primitive humans. And they just go there to train. It's like a rite of passage for the Sith to go to this planet and exercise their power on these primitive people who don't know any better, and they think that the Sith are gods. So they send their armies, they send all of their men of a certain age as like a rite of passage. As a rite of passage. So to the primitive people, the gods are visiting them and allowing their men to come of age. But then the Sith are just looking at it as like a place just to get their nuts off. It's like it's part of a cycle. It's part of a life cycle. But that's how I see the atheist groups. I just go in there, pull my neshama out and start swinging around. Alright, we're coming up to the house. What time is it? It's 4:30. Alright, now it's the hour of the moon. Alright, thank you, Shem. I love you too. I'll talk to you later.